Margaret was a rich woman whose husband had died. She lived alone in a big house near the Wyoming plains. Her heart was hurt from losing her husband 5 years ago. She had lots of money but felt empty inside. She spent her days helping others and her nights alone. People in town talked about how pretty she was, but she had made up her mind she would never love again. One fall morning, Margaret rode her horse by the river. The water shined in the morning light, matching her sad mood. She often came to the river for peace. Its gentle flow made her feel better. Her life was nice, but something pulled at her, a wanting she wouldn't admit to. She pushed the feeling away and rode faster, trying to escape her past. When Margaret went around a bend, she stopped. There by the river sat a huge man with big shoulders. His cowboy hat was next to him, showing his messy dark hair. He was crying, his deep sobs echoing across the water. Margaret's heart stirred in a way she hadn't felt in years. She got off her horse quietly and watched from behind the trees. Who was this man, and why was he crying? The cowboy didn't know she was watching. He held an old locket in his big hands as they shook. He opened it and looked at an old photo of a woman. His tears fell harder onto the locket. Margaret wanted to leave and keep her promise to never love again, but something made her stay. His deep sadness was like her own hidden pain. She stepped closer, and leaves crunched under her feet. His head shot up. "Who's there?" His voice was loud but not mean. Margaret came out from the trees, her silk scarf moving in the wind. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "I didn't mean to bother you." His eyes were red from crying but bright blue, and they looked into hers. For a moment, neither spoke. The river's soft sound filled the quiet. "My name's Samuel," he said finally, wiping his face. "Didn't expect to see anyone." Margaret nodded, not sure why she stayed. Going against her better thinking, Margaret sat on a rock nearby. "What's wrong, Samuel?" she asked gently. He waited, then showed her the locket. "My sister," he said. "Lost her to sickness last spring. Found this by the river today." His sadness was so strong Margaret could feel it too. She fought the urge to run away. Instead, she listened as he talked about losing his sister. Samuel wasn't like other cowboys. He was almost 7 feet tall and famous in the valley for being strong but quiet. He had worked on ranches all over Wyoming, never staying long. People called him the gentle giant, but few knew his heart. Margaret, careful as she was, felt a spark of connection. Seeing him so open cracked the walls around her heart. Days went by, and Margaret found herself going back to the river, hoping to see Samuel. He was often there, taking care of his horse or staring at the water. They talked longer each time, sharing stories of loss and strength. Samuel spoke of his sister's laugh. Margaret talked about her husband's kindness. The river became their safe place where their guarded hearts began to open. One evening, under a pink sky, Samuel gave Margaret a small wooden bird he had carved. "Made it myself," he said shyly. Her fingers touched his as she took it, and warmth spread through her. She hadn't felt such a feeling in years. "Thank you," she whispered, holding the bird tight. Her promise felt far away now, pushed aside by the cowboy's quiet strength and the pull of something new. The town buzzed with talk. The rich widow and the giant cowboy, it seemed impossible. Margaret ignored the whispers, but doubt crept in. Could she break her promise? Samuel was different, kind, not trying to get her money. Yet fear stayed with her. She'd loved once and lost everything. At night, she touched the wooden bird's edges, torn between her heart and the safety of being alone. Samuel also struggled with his feelings. He'd promised to live alone after his sister died, thinking no one could fill that empty space. But Margaret's grace and quiet strength drew him in. He found himself carving more little things, leaving them by the river for her to find. Each gift was a silent plea, a hope she might see him as more than just a sad cowboy. He wondered if she could ever love a man like him. One stormy afternoon, the river rose high with angry waters. Margaret came to find Samuel moving logs to strengthen the bank, his shirt soaked. "It'll flood the town if we don't act," he shouted over the wind. She joined him, not caring about her nice dress, pulling branches with surprising strength. They worked side by side, their shared goal creating a bond deeper than words. Tired out, they sat under a willow tree as the rain slowed. Margaret's hair stuck to her face, and Samuel brushed a piece away. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the world was just them and the river. "You're not what I expected," he said softly. "Neither are you," she replied, her heart racing. Her promise felt like a distant echo, drowned by the warmth of his look and the courage he gave her. The next week, Samuel asked Margaret to his small cabin. It was simple, filled with carved figures and the smell of pine. He cooked a simple meal, and they laughed over stories of his ranch days. Margaret felt at home, a feeling she thought was lost forever. As they sat by the fire, she realized her promise was no longer a shield. It was a chain. Could she let it go for a chance at love? Doubt came back as Margaret rode home. What if Samuel wanted her money, not her heart? She'd heard of men charming widows for gain. But Samuel had never asked for anything. His gifts were simple, his kindness real. She held the wooden bird, its edges worn from her touch. The river had brought them together, but could she trust it to guide her heart? She needed a sign, something sure. That sign came days later. A fire swept through a nearby ranch, and Samuel risked his life to save a family's animals. Margaret watched him come out of the smoke, tired but unhurt, leading scared horses to safety. The townspeople cheered, but he looked only for her eyes. In that moment, she knew his heart was true. Her promise crumbled, replaced by a wanting she could no longer deny. Margaret found Samuel by the river the next morning. "I've been scared," she admitted, her voice steady. "But I'm done hiding." She stepped closer, her hand finding his. Samuel's eyes softened, and he pulled her into his arms. The river sparkled behind them, witnessing their unspoken promise. For the first time in years, Margaret felt alive, her heart no longer bound by fear or loss. Their courtship was quiet but deep. They walked the riverbank, shared meals, and built a life together. Samuel taught Margaret to carve wood, her gentle hands learning his craft. She showed him her gardens, where he marveled at her skill. The town watched, their gossip turning to respect. The widow and the cowboy were no longer alone. They were a pair, complete in each other's company. One golden evening, Samuel led Margaret to the river's edge. He knelt down, his big frame steady, and held out a ring carved from oak. "I'm not rich," he said. "But I love you truly. Will you have me?" Tears filled Margaret's eyes, not of sadness, but joy. "Yes," she whispered, her promise to never marry forgotten. The river seemed to sing, its waters carrying their promise into the future. Their wedding was simple, held by the river under willow trees. Townspeople gathered, their doubt replaced by warmth. Margaret wore a plain dress, Samuel his best hat. They promised to love each other, their words mixing with the river's flow. As they kissed, the crowd cheered, and the sun set low, painting the water gold. A new chapter had begun for them both. Margaret sold her big house, choosing a simple home near Samuel's cabin. Her money helped build a school for the town's children, a gift born of her new joy. Samuel worked the land, his strength now softened by love. They spent evenings by the river, carving little things and dreaming of their future together. Samuel's sister's locket sat on their mantle, reminding them of love's lasting power. The river became their special place. Each year on their wedding day, they returned to its banks, saying their promises again in private. Margaret's heart, once locked away, now beat strongly for Samuel. His sadness too had softened, eased by her presence. They weren't perfect. They argued sometimes, doubts came, but their love was strong, held firm by the river that had brought them together in their darkest times. Years passed, and their love grew deeper. Margaret's hair turned silver, but her beauty remained, lit by Samuel's love. He carved a bench by the river where they sat watching sunsets. The town looked up to them, their story a legend of healing and hope. Children played nearby, calling them Grandpa Samuel and Grandma Maggie, though they had no children of their own. Their gift to the world was love. One spring, Samuel got sick. Margaret took care of him, her hand steady as she held his. By the river, she read to him, her voice soothing his pain. "I found you here," she whispered. And I'll never let you go. Samuel smiled, weak but warm. You broke my loneliness, he said. His hand squeezed hers, and they sat quietly. The river's song was a comfort as they faced an unknown future. Samuel got better, his strength coming back slowly. Margaret never left his side, her love a light through his darkness. They walked the riverbank again, slower now, but together. The town was amazed by their bond, proof of love's strength. Margaret's promise, once a fortress, was a distant memory. She had found something greater, a life built with Samuel, rooted in trust and shared healing. As seasons changed, they grew old together. The river stayed constant, its waters reflecting their journey. They carved one final trinket, a heart split to fit together. For us, Samuel said, his voice soft. Margaret nodded, tears in her eyes. They placed it by the river, a symbol of their love. The town knew their story, but only the river knew its depth, its quiet power lasting forever. One winter, Samuel passed peacefully by the river, Margaret at his side. She buried him near their bench, the locket with him. Her heart hurt, but it was full, not broken. She visited the river daily, talking to him through the water's flow. Her money meant little now. Her true riches were the years with Samuel. The town mourned, but she smiled, knowing their love lived on in the river's song. Margaret lived her final years by the river, carving trinkets for children. When she passed, the town laid her beside Samuel under the willows. Their bench remained, a monument to their love. The river flowed on, carrying their story to new hearts. The rich widow and the giant cowboy, brought together by sadness, had found salvation in each other. Their love was eternal as the water that brought them together.